Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and I have an incredible show for you today. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you what I always ask you, and that is to go out and be an evangelist for Ask Sharifah Videocast. There's someone in your network, someone in your neighborhood who does not want to miss this show, and they won't be able to see it unless you go ahead and share it with them. So as always, friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah Videocast. So while you're sharing the show, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. He is a comedy legend. He's an actor. He's a producer. He's a director. He's an entrepreneur and so much more. Mr. Brian Hooks. Brian is best known for the show Eve, Phat Beach, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, and Three Strikes, among others. And he launched his own company, Left of Bang Entertainment. So we're going to talk about that today. Good afternoon, Brian. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you? I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm excited to catch up with you to see what you have going on. One of the questions I always ask my guests, I read your bio, but tell us, who are you, what do you do, and what are you passionate about?
So my name is Brian Hooks. I'm an actor, filmmaker, and also a Rotarian. I've been saying that recently because that's a very important part of who I am and who I've become. Born and raised in Bakersfield, California, made the trek out here for college to teach mathematics. And once I got here, found out I was in the epicenter of entertainment and all my tomfoolery I've been doing for years in Bakersfield when no one could hear me. I started doing it in Los Angeles and people heard me. And so here we are today.
I want to talk about this teach math. Okay, so you were actually a math teacher?
Mm-hmm. Ask me, I know all my times tables. 5 times 5, 25. 6 times 5, 30. What?
You are good, but that's exciting to me because I love entertainment. I love talk shows, but most people don't know I went to college to be an accountant.
Oh, really? That's amazing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The numbers started to blend and mix. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to sit in this cubicle all day counting beans. I want something more fun. So how did it happen for you?
Well, you know, again, once I got down here to Los Angeles, I was, like I say, in the epicenter of entertainment. And so with that, I started running around trying to get my feet wet. And I figured out that, you know, the school, Cal State Northridge, also had a film class as well as acting classes. And so I was like, on top of my math classes, I would take a film class or acting class just to sort of educate myself. And so one thing led to another. I ended up getting headshots and I started submitting myself on projects. And through what was then the drama log, which is now Backstage, I submitted myself for this little movie called Phat Beach. And 7 auditions later, I got the part. That was with me and Jermaine Hopkins. It was the director, writer, was Doug Ellen, who created the show Entourage. And from there, you know, things started to snowball. And, you know, I've been blessed to be continuously working, you know, however many years later.
Now, you have been continuously working, but your specialty, and correct me if I'm wrong, is comedy. You love comedy. You love people. When I watch you, I just laugh. Why not serious roles? Why not a serious actor? Why comedy?
Well, comedy, again, that's just sort of, that was what I was natural at, you know, and I grew up, you know, being crazy, being funny, you know, in class, you know, in church, getting a whooping when I got home, the whole 9. And so it just, again, translated to
No, I want to go back to the church. What were you at the church? I got to hear about this.
Well, you know, that I think, you know, as far as a comic and finding out if you're funny, church is the best place to do that. Because based on if your mama waited to whoop you till you got home, or if she just smacks you in your mouth right there in church, you know that you was doing some real entertaining and you had some people laughing and you had their attention. If she reached back in front of hundreds of people and slapped you in the mouth with no care of social services taking you from it, you know you had did a good job. And so, no, but I mean, I was always, whether it was talent shows or any stage to find. I was always being the funny and talking and running my mouth. And like I said, once I got down here to Los Angeles, I started to try to, you know, formally do it. And, you know, I've been blessed.
Mm-hmm. Did you take comedy classes?
You know, I did not for my acting stuff. I was taking acting classes, but what I did do is take David Arnold's class once I made the, you know, transition to stand-up comedy, because most folks thought that I was a stand-up comedian all these years, but I never did stand-up, but they just assumed that because of my comedy roles. And so I never wanted to disrespect the art of comedy, which is David Arnold's class, actually. That's the name, The Art of Comedy. And so I went because he's an amazing teacher as well as comic, and sort of got the basis and the foundation of stand-up comedy before I just stepped out on my name, just because they was like, yo, he's on the E show, he's in Phat Beach, he's in 3 Strikes, let's get him to do stand-up. But I never wanted to disrespect the art, and I didn't. So I figured out what I was supposed to be doing on that stage, went out for over a year, worked out my material in different clubs around town. And then I took it out, you know, to the improvs and the funny bones across country, my reintroduction tour, which was stopped short by the pandemic, but we're going to be picking back up, and maybe 9-12 months from now have a, you know, my special.
So you have a comedy special in the works.
1000%. Yep.
Okay. Are you going to be performing in the Long Beach, LA area?
I will definitely be performing and working out in the Long Beach, LA area. I do not know yet where I will shoot the special, but I would definitely be in Los Angeles and Long Beach, you know, performing and doing my thing.
Okay, because I have to come check you out. I have to see if you're really funny.
Yeah. 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 No, you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. Like I said, I didn't, you know, I didn't step out before I was ready to step out. And, you know, and I talk about stuff that's personal to me. And I think that's the difference between a comic you're into and one you're not. When they just out there looking for the something to make the audience react, you know, you sort of read into that. But everything I say is stuff I believe, no matter how insane it may or may not be. You be like, I think he really believes what he's saying, because that's some ridiculous shit to say, but I think he believes that. And I do. So,
So how do you come up with this stuff? I know it's personal, but how do you come up with the idea and then say, okay, I want to talk about this on stage?
Well, yeah, it's an evolution. The thing is it all comes from my life experiences. And, you know, and some things is, you know, it's those things that at the time it wasn't funny. Like if you get stranded, your car break down, and you on your way to a job interview and you really needed that job, and you stuck on the freeway and it's hot and you sweating and you put on silk for this interview and you looking like a fool and you feeling like, you know, that's not funny. However, when you tell me on stage in the club, I'm gonna find it hilarious. You know what I mean? So it's taking those moments, not just the funny moments, but the moments that are real, and finding the funny in them. Because, you know, everything we're going through, a lot of times it, you know, it might be painful, but for someone looking on, it's funny. Like, it's not funny. Like when you fall and trip, and you fall and you stumble and you bust your head on the side of the pole, ain't nothing funny about that. But if I see from across the street, oh, come on now. I'm rolling. That's funny to me. And so you have to sort of take it yourself out of the situation and look at it, you know what I mean, with different eyes. And then, and you have to be honest and go tell those stories. And that's what I do, you know?
I know one of the things for me, because I grew up on comedy, the Eddie Murphys, the Richard Pryors, the Martin Lawrence. I'm a huge comedy fan. And one of the things I do even now to this day, if something is going on in the world and Fox is saying this and CNN is saying this, I want to hear what a comedian has to say. Because then I feel like I'm getting the truth.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, and no, and it's some comics that do that very, very well. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and it's the reason why they're on the top of my comedy. DL Hughley, like you want to know what's going on in the world and to read through the, you know, listen, turn on DL Hughley. And so those guys always have a very real, raw take on today's, yesterday's, and tomorrow's topics. And it's great to hear it and see it through the lens of a comic. And so, yeah, absolutely. If a comic is great, they're very, you know, I should say there's some comics who are amazing at that.
Do you feel that you're amazing at that?
I don't really do political comedy and things like that. I will talk about hot topics and things that's going on that's current, but I'm a storyteller. You know what I mean? I'm a storyteller. And so I tell stories about my life, about myself, about my opinions, about my views. And that's what you get when you come to see me. You get storytelling.
Okay, well, I like stories. So tell me a story. What's going on in the world?
What's going on in the world today? A whole bunch of bullshit going on today. So you better just hold on and hope when and if you do get that vaccine, that a monkey don't grow out your forehead. So yeah, but that's the thing. I don't think nobody really know what's going on today. So, you know, I don't know what there is to tell. Shoot, nobody really knows what's going on, but it's definitely a whole lot of craziness that we all just hoping to get through.
Wow, I love your take on things. And I've watched your work over the years, but I will tell you my favorite that just being able to see you is Eve. Like I love Eve, but I also felt that you showed more of your personality. You showed more of your range on Eve than the other ones that I've seen. I really love Three Strikes, but I felt like this was more well-rounded. Do you feel like you showed more of your acting chops and more of your abilities on Eve?
Yeah, and there's a, you know, very natural reason for that. You know, we did what, 66 episodes ultimately of the show. And so with
Wow.
that, yeah, you're gonna get every episode is a different story, a different situation, a different emotion. So you get to see that, you know what I mean? You get to see that journey. And so with that, you know, if an actor is good, you're gonna see those different levels. And that was the beauty of being on a show like that. Not only did we have an amazing cast who were like family and friends and close to this day, just being able to come every week and, like you're saying, having a new, letting these new emotions and this new dialogue and these new scenes and these things that's happened. It was definitely a highlight for me and a great time. But I would say that, but you know, it's because of, you know, it was just so much material over those 3 or 4 years that we had to work with that, organically you're going to get to show a lot more range.
Yes. So when you look at it personally over 3 or 4 years, do you feel that you were the same person, the same actor, the same, having the same abilities at the end as when you started? Or what are some of the changes that you noticed in yourself?
I think I did grow, you know, and again, up until that point, I done, I think mostly films other than guest starring roles. So with a film, you're locked into one person and then that movie happens and, you know, and so you don't do films like with TV, it's every week. So again, with that, you have so much different material. And if a show is good, that every character has an arc of where they start and where they finish and how they evolve. And our show was good. Meg Deloach and we had some other amazing writers who did a great job of capturing that. And so Nick Delaney, my character, was just that. And he had an arc and he just went through all these, you know, levels for, I think he was just really young and raw to where, you know, it was coming to where he was moving towards that, you know, being more settled, you know what I mean, before the show ended. But I think I did grow a lot, and it was because being able to exercise different material, different moments every single week for 66 episodes. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's definitely evolution, and I learned so much being on that show, not only with acting but behind the camera. So I got a lot of jewels from being on that show. Very blessed to have been a part of it.
So after you finished that project, did that want to make you go behind the camera and focus more on production and directing?
What I already done, you know, a lot of independent stuff before then. And I always tell my buddy Barry Bowles and I, when we were still at Cal State Northridge in school together, he was in film school. I was in, you know, secondary education to teach. and he approached me, and we made this small $13,000 film called Q. And when we finished, the movie was absolutely horrible, but it was funny, and it was 90 minutes, and it was coming off the heels of a very successful Phat Beach.
Mhm.
So this $13,000 film that we made went out through Xenon Entertainment, and it made $800,000.
Oh,
And
wow.
so from there, we found a little niche to where we can control our own destinies, and we're able to do what we want, when we want, how we want. And even more so, I had no idea of the foundation that was being laid, because I was learning so much as I was making these films, having to figure out how to make them on a budget, until I am where I'm today. And now I have all the tools and knowledge, the skill to sort of call my own shots and do what I want, how I want, when I want. So it's been a real blessing. But I say that to say, so I already sort of stumbled onto this independent path that's been my foundation. And I had a number of films that had been really successful. Probably the most would be Nothing to Lose, which was a romantic comedy
I remember
that we
that.
shot out in Virginia. And it was $100,000 we made that film for, and it made over $4 million, and sort of
Oh, wow.
changed the whole game of how people looked at, making films to go straight to DVD. And so with that, once I was on the Eve show, I'd had that foundation behind me. TV is very different,
Mhm.
but the same in a lot of aspects. So it was all new knowledge I was getting from that television side, but I was definitely paying attention to things around me, because I'm a filmmaker. So it wasn't just show up and do my lines. I was paying attention to sort of how things move, and how I can incorporate that into what I do with my independent films.
Wow. So it wasn't just showing up and do your lines. So over those 66 episodes, did you receive more freedom? Did you maybe get to improv more, or show a little bit more of your creativity, maybe direct an episode?
Absolutely not.
It was like, no.
Absolutely not. No, because see, TV is very different from film. With film, it's the director and the producer, and they sort of, these are the lines, but give us something. With TV, they're concerned with what people think in middle America, down south, up north, back east, and they got to sell these Charmin commercials, going to be running in the middle of it, and they don't want to be attached to. So it's very controlled, very contained. So your creativity has to be within the outline of the words you're given. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Which is not a bad thing. You're like, this is, and we had great writers. And so it's like, here's the material. So now you go and create and bring this to light in the best way within the parameters of what we dialed up.
Mhm.
But it's very particular, every word, that you say on the show, because you have, not only the writers who, we've been in there for 2 days, 12 hours a day, this funny. So if nobody laughs, it's because you're not saying it right. You know what I mean?
You're
And
right.
so it's the writers, and then it's, the showrunner who's over the show, and then there's the studio, and then there's the network, and there's a lot of people who have eyes, and it's very, they want to know what's going on. And so it's different than movies, to where you go out there and you just try to find the funny. On TV, you find the funny, but you find it within the context of the stuff I gave you. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
two different animals. And then, and then at that time with the TV, I didn't, I was usually had my independent projects going as well on my hiatus. And then, I was deep into my character and making sure I was doing 110%, every week with that. And so I never, I never looked to try to direct or any of that stuff. I was focused on what I was focused on.
Yes, but speaking of producing and directing, if memory serves me, there was a point in time where you were called, what was it, the king of Blockbuster, or king
Yeah,
of straight to,
all that. Yeah, King of
DVD
DVD,
movie?
King of Block. Yeah, yeah, and that was those things like the Nothing to Lose, the Q, and you know, chat room and all those small independent films that we were making that were just making
Like you had
crazy
your
amounts of
own
money.
role. You had your own
Yeah,
role in
yeah,
Blockbuster.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did. We had our own row, darn near the whole section, and it was the same in Walmart as well, which used to be the biggest supplier of actually, or they still are, of hard DVDs. And so we had an amazing following, and what people would go in there and they would, you know, they would want to get whatever the latest blockbuster, you know, movie was, but there was also like, yeah, let me get a Brian Hook's joint too. He a fool. And so they would get them both. And it was just a blessing. And again, that served as a foundation for me to sustain myself, you know, to this day.
Yes, but see, I love the fact that you're a comedian, director, producer, but I love entrepreneurs. That's my
Hmm.
passion. People who can
Hmm.
take something and turn it into business and actually work for yourselves. And that's one of
Hmm.
the things that you've been doing, producing these projects. Are you in production now? What are you working on?
I just finished a movie called Adam and Eve. I'm in post production, and that's a straight drama, and it's a far away from what folks are usually used to seeing me, the comedy and doing the funny. But this is a straight drama, a love story about these two people who fall in love, but they both have questionable pasts, and around the time they're ready to, you know, move forward, their past start to creep up and prevent them from moving on and living happily ever after. So it's a straight drama. And I think people are really going to enjoy it. They're going to be surprised to see me in that light, but I think they're going to love it the same. And so that's what I'm finishing up now, getting ready, set up to do the next film. Bentley Evans and myself, we co-wrote a sitcom for myself together that I'll be starring in. So we're going to be doing that this year as well. And then also my new company, Left to Bang Entertainment, which is what I'm most excited about that is happening now.
I definitely want to talk about Left to Bang, but before we go there, I want to go back to the Adam and Eve and this drama.
Hmm.
Why drama, Brian? Why switch up?
It's not a switch. It's just the ability to, like I said, be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's something that, you know, if you don't have that independent background, then you are at the mercy of doing, you know, what they want you to do. And so drama, you know, I did Beloved when I played young Paul D, young Danny Glover in there. And so drama is actually something I do just as well as comedy, if not better. And so this was a story, because I want to start, you know, sharing different things with my audience that I think they're gonna love and want to see. And so, you know, this story came out of me, and now it's, you know, it's about to come to the screen. But it's it came out pretty hot. I think people are going to enjoy it.
I can't wait to see it. But do you find that people always expect you to be funny or to say something funny or act silly in the
Yeah,
most serious situations?
yeah. I think when people have laughed with me for so many years, that when they see me, they're just ready to laugh. You know what I mean? They just come up like, hey. I'm like, bro, we had a funeral. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter where we at. They're ready to laugh, and it's because, and I get it. You know what I mean? It's been a lot of comedy over the years, so they're thinking of a scene or a moment in their mind, in their head that made them laugh, and so, but it's all good. But they do expect the funny.
I think that's interesting. Let's talk about Left of Bang. What is
Mhm.
Left of Bang Entertainment?
Left to Bang Entertainment is a company I started, and it was me coming to a crossroads in my life and trying to figure out, you know, what else, what more is there, and wanting to give back, because I just feel like you can't go through life just trying to see how much stuff you can get for yourself. At some point, you have to pay forward which you've been blessed with, however little or big amounts you've been blessed for. And that's what Left to Bang Entertainment is. And what we do is we extend the olive branch from the inner city onto the Hollywood movie sets and allow these youth to take part in the magic of Hollywood filmmaking. And the idea is to give them another option, because often these kids are forced to choose between bad and worse. And we want to be that other option. And the bang in our name stands for that moment in a child's life where they decide to pick up a gun, commit a violent act, anything that puts them on the wrong side of law. We want to intercept them before that moment. And we want to get them left to bang and keep them left to bang. The number one reason that these kids join gangs is because they're looking for a sense of belonging. They're looking for a sense of family. And that's a natural human instinct that every human being needs to thrive and stay alive. It's not unique to these kids. And these kids are going to seek that out, even if it's with a gang, you know? And so we want to provide and be that option for them. And we want to be their filmmaking family, because given the option to choose between shooting a gun and shooting movies, these youth would choose movies every time.
Was there a personal reason, as far as someone you knew who was in a gang, or were you in a gang? Why gangs?
It's not it's necessarily gang, but it's just, you know, people are born into unbalanced situation. So I'm a Rotarian at the Santa Monica Rotary, and our motto and mission, our statement is service above self. And I was visiting a neighboring Rotary, and there was a guest speaker there, ex-police chief, and he made a comment that really changed my life and put me on this path. He said that they are able to predict with certainty that a child at the age of 3 will end up in jail or prison. And so when he said that, I'm confused, and I'm thinking, you know, there has to be more to that statement, because that would be a heartbreaking reality. But there wasn't more. The statement was true. And he went on to give us the reasoning as to how they're able to predict this. And what he said was that they're able to predict this of a 3-year-old child because of the geographical area that they're born and raised in, the number of gangs they have to walk by to get to and from school, and whether or not their parents were in jail or prison before. And so this 3-year-old child who doesn't know what life is, doesn't possess an ounce of ill will in their body, because of the geographical area that they're born and raised in, the arc of their life is limited to death or prison. And so I had to ask myself, you know, if I had the ability to save or change this 3-year-old kid's life, would I? And the answer is yes, I would, every time. And so that's what Left the Bang is. It's my mission and my piece of making sure that I support these youth who are born into these situations, because without programs like Left the Bang intercepting them and showing them that there's more out there, the arc of their life ends with death or prison. And that didn't sit well with me at all. And so I've just been dedicated to pinching off 10% of my life to make sure that I have time to serve these youth. And the goal is, I hope that everybody starts to figure out ways to give back and push the world forward in whatever field they do and whatever they're passionate about. But, you know, we have to do something. And I'm certainly going to make sure that I do my part.
Wow, that's remarkable. But how did you actually decide what you wanted to do, and what was that process like for you? I know so often when we hear stories of children suffering and children going hungry and children dealing with poverty and gang violence, we feel like, I have to do something. You know, my life is great, it's wonderful, I have to make a difference. How did you discover the exact difference that you wanted to make and how you were going to go about it?
I think it was, you know, it sort of came organically to me. And I did a lot of soul searching. I had some amazing mentors, George Antone and Willie Hooks. I joined the Santa Monica Rotary, and I got to see people serve at the highest level. And it really, all these pieces sort of helped in pulling together what I wanted to do. Now, I was going to school to be a teacher, so youth have always been, you know, in the front of my mind. that's what I decided I wanted to do with my life before acting and entertainment and comedy called. And so as I began searching for, what can I do to impact the world, it was sort of a very organic marriage for me to take my God-given gift of filmmaking and my love for youth and kids and teaching and marry the two. And that's what Left the Bang is. Like, we're teaching these youth filmmaking and allowing them to make real films, and also offering mentorship. So it was sort of my passion, what's been in my heart, teaching, and also my gift of filmmaking that, I do very well. And so, why did I choose that? I think it chose me. You know what I mean? I was just sort of open to the idea of how can I serve? And that sort of just, that sort of dictated itself to me. And then I just set out, and I didn't have all the answers right away. I just knew that I had to take action, to stop thinking about it and stop planning to do it, and just step out and start pushing forward. And since then, I've created the virtual film school, which, came from the kids not being able to be on set. I didn't want to leave them hanging. I didn't want to think I was one of those guys that came and said all this cool stuff and then they didn't hear from me anymore. So we decided to take it online. And now we have this film school, this Left the Bang Film School, where the kids can come and they can learn filmmaking for free. And they got to meet some of my, friends and celebrities, stop by to say what's up to them. And that really moved them. Anthony Anderson from Black just came and said what's up to him. Craig Robinson from The Office and all those other movies. Faison Love stopped by to talk to him. JB Smoove stopped by to talk to him. Tabitha Brown stopped by to talk to him. Vivica Fox stopped by to talk to him. And the list goes on and on. And one of the things that, because we had a number of kids from the Fresno Unified, Central California, and the teachers or the counselor on there said they have not seen this level of engagement since they started remote learning. And for me, that lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. And so, I felt it would be great. I felt it would be beneficial, but you begin to see the results, and then you just lean into that. And so that's where we at, and trying to keep that going, and even starting the Kickstarter tomorrow to continue, continue going and growing the mission and being able to support these youth.
Let's talk about the Kickstarter. So what is the Kickstarter?
It's an extension of everything that I've been doing, and I didn't want to leave these youth's future and my mission at the hands of, hey, a studio saying, hey, do you want to do movies, to where I use these kids, because I didn't really think, they're about business. So that I didn't really think that they get it. And so what I've committed to is, everything I do in entertainment, my production company, it will be entertainment with a positive social impact. It has to move the world forward, you know what I mean, when we work. And so, with the school running, and I wanted these kids to continue and be able to make the next film. So I decided to take it straight to the people who would resonate with the message and who care and got the idea and the mission. And so this Kickstarter will fund these kids being part of the next movie. And so they'll get to make a movie with me from start to finish, pre-production, production, post-production. They'll get to name the movie. They'll have their names in the credits of the movie, and ultimately be watching it on Netflix or some other platform and see the, labors of all their, great work come to fruition. And they're excited about that. And I'm excited about that as well. And, I just want to, again, be able to continue serving them.
I love that. So with the Kickstarter, you'll be able to raise the money and the funds to be able to actually produce the projects that the kids work on.
Yes, and then allow them to be a part of it, that process. Yeah. So it's exciting. They're excited. I'm excited, and excited for the Kickstarter to start tomorrow and get moving.
So is it going to be linked to your website? Can people search on Kickstarter?
Yeah, the Kickstarter, Left the Bang Entertainment on Facebook, Instagram, on, you know, my social media, The Brian Hooks, and you can, or the website, leftthebangentertainment.com. You can visit any of those places, and you'll see a link to click, and you can read about all the details of the project and the youth and all that good stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay, so you can read about it, but you can also go and make your contribution.
Absolutely. You can go and you know, the literature is there, so you know exactly what you're contributing to. And again, and if, you know, it's set up to, if you have $5, you literally be $5 you put towards, you know, pushing the world forward and actually impacting inner city youth's life.
Wow, I'm impressed. I love that. I want to go back to the virtual online courses for a minute. Is it actually a program, a set amount of weeks that they go to this class? How does the virtual online class work?
And so we have, you know, all these students, and they log on. We did it at Saturdays, 11 o'clock, you know. I made sure to tell them this is a movie class. Bring your popcorn. Don't come, don't come in here, excuse me, without no popcorn, right?
Yes.
And so they was like, what? And so by week 2, 3, everybody had their popcorn, they jujubes, they licorice, and we just had a good time. And they were all loving the material, because I was teaching them not how to make a film that's contingent upon someone telling them to make a film, but how to make a film themselves for little to no money, that could be in festivals and go out to the outlets and they can monetize off of. So they were all into that, and the class was fun and I had fun. And then again, you know, they never knew who was coming. So for instance, one of the guys' backdrop, one of the kids' backdrop was The Office. So when Craig Robinson popped up on the screen, he was just like, no way, you know what I mean?
Right, passed out.
Yeah. And another one of the girls, she's big on improv class, so on and so forth. So JB Smooth from Curb Your Enthusiasm, a show that's completely improv, pops up, and it's just like, no way. And so this was the experience that these youth got, you know. And we're about to start another session, I think on the 10th of April. And so any youth out there, or any of you guys who have kids who are in high school who would be interested, it costs nothing for the youth. They can just come and get the jewels.
Well, what about if you want to volunteer? Because you know, I'm a little too old for the program, but I can help teach the kids how to do something, how to eat their popcorn, how to do something. Like, what about us old people?
What about us old people?
Yes.
Yo, I can always use the help. Again, this is something that I'm doing all on my own, which is hence why we're doing the Kickstarter, because, you know, I want to be able to scale this to where ultimately there's thousands of kids, you know, across the country, and you know, in Europe and everywhere else, who can log on and just be a part of this community of cool, positive people, learn filmmaking, and meet, you know, cool celebrities. So I'm always going to need help. So I would appreciate, you know, any contributions of help, you know, physically, as well as through the Kickstarter, but physically as well. So, you know, just let me know. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I can imagine. So I'm a volunteer.
To do on your own. Okay.
I'm a volunteer through the production company, Busy Girl Productions. We're gonna help you create some projects. And I got my first project, Brian. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. They gonna write the movie for you. They gonna put it all together. But this is it. It's Brian Hooks at the Rotary Club. Because I just see that as funny. For some odd reason, I sitting there, like, just doing it the way everyone else does. And I see everyone looking at you like, why is that man in here? You know what I mean? Like, do you ever get that look at I know you do, Brian. I know it's not me.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, the Rotary generally was, you know, it was a bunch of old white men. You know, women couldn't even be part of it ultimately. And, you know, of course, you know, it's 2021 now and things have evolved, but it's still, you know, That's not really something known to us in our communities. You know what I mean? The Rotary people don't know what that is. And so, you know, and they're just basically they're an organization that just does humanitarian work, and they look for people and communities to help, and they do that, and they just give without expecting anything back. And so that's who they are. But yeah, it, you know, it's not, you know, there's no young Black brothers in there, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think it, you know, it might be a one other Black brother. And,
I know
yeah,
it's not just me.
yeah,
They don't come up to you and be
yeah.
like,
So,
"You lost, young man."
yeah, but they all, but you know, you got to think the type of person who, you know, is over in, you know, Ladera Heights and Baldwin Hills painting walls is a different type of individual, you know what I mean? So
Right.
when you got, you know, older white men and women, you know, painting in, you know, Black inner city neighborhoods, then that's a different mentality. And the thing what it is people think like, oh, it's a bunch of rich people who whatever, and that's not the case. You have some people there who, you know, they have a solid job, but they don't really have extra money or time to be doing all this, but they have made it a priority. I want to give. So they made the sacrifices they need to make so that they're able to do this, even though they're not rich or wealthy or whatever. And then on the flip side, you may have some very wealthy Rotarians, and you got to think like every week they're there in the meetings discussing how they can push the world forward. And these are people that could be on any island every week being fed grapes by you know, the locals, but they've
Right.
chosen to be here. So it's a different type of mindset to say, yo, no, I want to pay it forward. And so with that, they welcome him. They like, yo, we've been waiting for you. You know what I mean? And so they've been amazing, and they've taught me so much. And so, yeah, but it's definitely a movie in there.
It is. I'm telling you, you can go ahead and do it. Feel free. You and the kids can do it. But I'm telling you, there is a movie in there.
Yeah.
You have so much going on. You're in production. You're working with the kids. You have an appearance. You'll be at Belindas Crab and go on
Yes,
April
yes.
11th. Let's talk about
Yeah,
that.
I'm ready to eat. You know what I mean? I'm trying to wait until then to go there to get something to eat, but I don't know if I'm gonna make it until then. We need to push that up because I can't wait to get to the Crab and Go and taste that food. I heard it's amazing. Belinda is like family for me. I think the world of her, and we are also partners as well. So I'm excited about us, you know, doing an opening of the restaurant.
Yes, you got to be like me. You got to push it forward in creative ways. So
Mhm.
what I did was, first of all, we had Belinda's Crab and Go when we shot a new show
I
on
know,
Saturday.
yeah.
Girl Productions. I was ordering all. I want some
Yeah.
ceviche, Belinda. Like, can you bring the? So I had my own little section, and
Yeah,
then I turned 45 on the 31st of March. So I'm having
that's
this
what's up.
birthday party. So I was like, Belinda, I
You
need a
gonna
little
cater?
Crab and Go.
Yeah,
So I
Belinda
love
is
it.
an
I enjoy
amazing, amazing woman with an amazing story, with an amazing heart, and I'm proud to call her a friend and work alongside of her.
Yes, she is definitely amazing. I have enjoyed speaking with you, Brian. I'm getting ready to close the show, but I did forget. I promised my friends I would ask you this question. Can
Mhm.
you teach me how to be funny?
Can I teach you how to be funny? You can't teach funny. Because if you know, when you try to do funny and you're not funny, it's called corny. Like that's
Oh,
the
okay.
definition of corny. Like when somebody be like, yo, he corny, that's somebody who's not funny trying to be funny. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's what corny means. You know what I mean? So I think you know, teaching funny now, I can teach you how to write a joke. You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Okay.
And you could go up there, you could say that. But I think if you go into comedy clubs, specifically in LA, you'll see some people who are amazing writers at writing
Hmm.
a joke, but they're not funny.
Hmm.
So, you know, and sometimes they write for other people. So they'll go up there and say some things that they wrote, and you'd be like, man, you know what I mean? But you know, you give that same joke to a different comedian, and you be like, oh, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, you know, I can teach you how to write a joke, but I don't think you can't teach funny. Like, you know, when you're not funny and you
I'm
try to be
funny though.
funny,
I'm funny.
but then you funny. You don't need to be taught.
I need to learn the business of it. So we're going to talk about that later,
Yeah,
because I'm sure
yeah,
there's a class at
yeah,
Left the Bang Entertainment
yeah.
that
Sure
somehow
is.
I could just sit and
Yeah,
watch. I'm not going to be a
yeah,
student, but I'm just going to
yeah,
sit and watch so I can
yeah.
learn the art of funny and the art of comedy.
All good, all good.
Now, Brian, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who was, ooh, I was going a different way. Belinda Baker just said, hey, Brian. So I wanted to let you know she's watching.
Hey, okay.
Yes. So speak directly to the audience. Let everyone know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today.
I just want to say what's up. I love reaching out. I love speaking to people. We've been in some crazy times this past year or so. So, you know, this form of conversation has moved up in the chain of conversation and sort of taken the place to a degree for in person. So I just want to say for anybody who ever supported me, and if you're listening now and you appreciate my work, I appreciate it even more than that. And I've had, you know, a great time over the years, and look forward to a lot more years of having a good time. And I just invite you all on the journey with me, as independent journey. And again, I would just want to say thank you, and thank you for your support. And again, if you know, to check out the Kickstarter, and again, for as little as $5, you can be a part of really saving youth's lives, keeping them off the streets, and keeping them working towards something productive. So please carve out 10 minutes of your time to check out the Kickstarter tomorrow, and send a message of positivity and support of these youth. They need it, and we need it, because they are the future, and they'll be running everything, you know, tomorrow. And so I would love to have you guys support on supporting and sharing the mission if it resonates with you.
Absolutely. Brian, I want to thank you for being a guest on today's episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. As I always say, just because you didn't catch the show live doesn't mean you're not important. And it doesn't mean that we still don't need your support, because we do. Please go ahead and share the show. And please not only watch the show and share the show, but support our guests. He's out there, Brian's out there helping the youth. So support him. Check out his Kickstarter. Go ahead and make your $500 contribution. And if $500 is too much for you, go ahead and slide that 50 across, because it's for our future, for our children who are our future. So visit the website, leftthebangentertainment.com. Make your contribution. Follow Brian Hooks on social media at The Brian Hooks. And as always, I appreciate your support. If you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast, visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until next time, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.